The shift is from focusing on what I want from you to what I want for you. You know what I want for my clients? I want them to experience freedom. I want them to experience health. I want them to experience sustainability over the long haul. There's a reason why my average client sticks with me almost 3 years right now, and that number climbs every month. There's a reason for that, because they know what I want for them. When you broadcast that, when that is your mindset about other people, it's about what you want for them, not from them, it changes the game.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Legacy's Journey, where we talk about creating what outlives you. I'm your host, Cameron Williams, owner of Kinley Consulting, where we focus on strategic financial growth for marketing agencies so that they can live the dream life they deserve and not be a slave to their business. And we do that through CFO and consulting and tax strategy services. Now, it is season 2. And I told y'all, we're going to go out here and find quality people who are doing it at a high level, who are helping, who are serving. And I told you I was going to have to tap into the network, right? And so this guy, I technically see him every Monday. And we have officially met in person now. So he's the exact same in person as he is on the computer. I just think y'all are going to get a ton of value. I mean, if you're following me on Facebook or on social, you literally see me quoting what he says at this point. So clearly I'm a fan. So there's that. So I'm just going to hurry up and introduce him. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. William Attaway is here on the podcast. Welcome.
Amber, thank you so much for having me, man. I'm excited to be here.
See, don't he just sound positive already? Like, that's what I'm saying. All right. Tell the people. By the way, y'all, if y'all hear me sound a little funny, I'm going to probably try to mute as best as I can. We got some sinus issues going on. So if you're looking at my face, if this is on YouTube, I am so sorry. I'm trying to keep it together. If you're listening to the audio, it's not the audio, it's me. So let's just get that out of the way. All right. Tell the people name of the company, how long you've been doing it, and what you do, who you serve, the whole nine. You got it.
So I'm William Attaway. I'm an executive coach. I serve entrepreneurs, founders, digital marketing agency owners in particular. And I have been working with leaders for almost 30 years, Cameron. I started Catalytic Leadership LLC, which is my company, to help leaders to grow intentionally and to help them thrive. So that, like you were saying earlier, their business isn't driving them up the wall. They're actually in charge.
All right. See, now y'all, I'm gonna get him excited where he gonna hit you with the real. He gonna keep it real. He kept it real simple right there. All right, so executive coach. Explain that to the people who don't know, because I feel like before I got deeper into business, I heard that and I'm like, why do executives need coaches, right? Like they're CEOs or CFOs. What do they need coaches for? Please tell them why people like you are important to the journey.
That's a really great question. And I do get that question with some regularity. I think it's important to think about coaches as people who are outside of you, outside of your business. It is very, very difficult to see the whole picture when you're in the frame. You need somebody with a perspective outside who's going to look and who's going to see things that maybe you're not seeing, who's going to ask you questions that maybe nobody else in your world is going to ask you, to help you get from where you are to where you want to be. And that's what I get to do. That's the work that I do with the founders, with entrepreneurs, with business owners, because it's so easy to just get in the day to day. You're just in firefighting mode. You're just putting out fires left and right, day after day after day. You can't see that you are the lid on your company's growth, that you are the lid on your team's growth. And until you address that, you will never scale and grow like you have the capacity to.
You see what I'm saying? You see how you got deep real quick? I told you. If you don't deal with your stuff, you can never get where you need to be and expand. All right, now let's walk through the journey a little bit. So, okay, you've been doing this 30 years. What you guys also don't know is your other profession is?
I am the lead pastor of a church outside of Washington, D.C. I've been in vocational church ministry now for 27 years. leading churches in a variety of different places from where I'm from, down south, Mississippi and Alabama, and Texas, to where I have been for almost 20 years. Next month, it'll be 20 years at this church, which is in the western suburbs of Washington, D.C., out by Dulles Airport.
Shout out to the DMV.
Shout out to the DMV.
All right. Now, so we got a lot of things going on here, right? We got you growing the business and leading people, but then also leading people in the church setting. So let's go back to, all right, you said 30 years. So 30 years ago, what makes you get into like, man, I should start coaching people or leaders? How did we end up there?
That is a story. When I was 15 years old, I attended my first leadership conference, not because it was my idea. I had a high school teacher who saw something in me, Cameron, that I did not see in myself. And he said, I think you would really thrive in this environment. I think you'd benefit from this. So he invited me to go, and I hopped on a plane. I flew to a leadership conference at Valley Forge, Pennsylvania. And for the first time, I can remember hearing about the power and the influence that a leader has. And I was hooked. Leadership can be used for great things. It can also be used for incredibly destructive things. And as I began to study great leaders, as I began to study this whole discipline of leadership and everything that is attached to it, I began to understand the real responsibility that comes along with taking on a leadership role. The problem with leadership so often is that people are going to follow where you lead. That's true when you're a business owner. It's true if you're a church leader. It doesn't matter where you lead. People are going to follow most often where you lead. If you lead in an unhealthy direction, if you lead in an unhealthy pace, if you lead in an unsustainable pace, guess what? People are going to follow you. And so as I started my journey studying and learning about great leaders, and I wanted to practice, I wanted to learn. And so when I stepped into the business world, I stepped in and immediately started leading a team. And that was an experience. For a young guy who had no real practical experience doing it, I made a lot of mistakes. And I did a lot of things that in retrospect, I look back and I just shake my head, just want to do a face plant. Like, oh, no. Why would you think that? Why would you do that? But you don't know what you don't know. And this is what I so often see with people that I work with and speak to today. You don't know what you don't know. You started a business because you're really good at something. You're really good at providing a product or a service. And that's what you're fantastic at. And as you find success, you have to hire other people to help you with fulfillment. Well, one day you look up and there are people looking at you as the leader. And now you have to lead them. Now, one of two things happens. Either that leader says, wait a minute, I didn't sign up for that. I didn't sign up to be a leader. I left the corporate world. I left the business. I don't want to be a leader. And so they try to flatten the organization. They try to flatten and say, well, we're not going to have a structure report to. We're not going to have all that. We're just going to, it's just going to be like a family. And they try to flatten the structure in unhealthy ways. And that never ends well. Or they say, okay, I'm the leader. And then they start trying to figure it out as they go along. And they do what I did, and they start making all kinds of mistakes. And they start hitting every ditch along the road. And what I do is I come alongside and say, hey, you know what? Let me help you avoid some of those ditches. Some of them you're going to hit. That's part of the journey. But if you have somebody who can help you avoid some of those ditches, I've been coaching leaders for hundreds of leaders for almost 30 years. I've got a knowledge base from all of those conversations that I bring to bear with my clients. I can help you avoid some of the ditches that you would drive into otherwise. If you've got somebody who could help you go farther than you could on your own and who could help you get there faster, why would you not do that?
That's good. Well, I'm going to answer that question. I think some people say, and I've learned this is like a mindset thing, right? We talk about the poverty versus abundance. Some people would say, like, why would I pay you to tell me what to do? Or that's too much money. Because mind you now, people,
Sure.
The people that we bought on the podcast this year, these are all people that are running $1 million agencies, give or take a couple. And the couple are people that work with all of them that do. So, I've learned or have been learning that your mindset really dictates and drives a lot. Because
Yes.
I can even talk about myself. Let's get real.
Yeah.
Like, I remember at the very, very beginning, so I've been doing this 6 years now, as of July 2024. And at the beginning, like you said, you just try to figure it out. I'm gonna do
Mhm.
my best. We're gonna will it. And
That's
then
right.
I think I got into somebody's VSL, bought their course, and I remember I think the course was like 1997, and I just thought that was so much.
Mhm.
But to your point, if I can get there faster,
Mhm.
wouldn't I make this 2 grand back? But
Mhm.
that was such a struggle for me. I ended up doing it. It didn't work out. I did meet my mentors there,
Mm.
in some of my circle, but that's hard for a lot of people, especially if you're just getting started. Um, so let's talk about mindset because I know this is one of your
Yeah.
specialties. What are some of the struggles that you're seeing now? We're in 2024. It's a lot of people going through some of everything, right? We've had COVID. A lot of people are starting to switch from regular school to online or homeschool. People working from home a lot more, so you're not getting out as much. What are some of these kind of mindsets that you're seeing that are either common and or are hurting business owners? That's probably a really deep question, by the way.
It is. Let's back up just a second and let's talk about what mindset is because I think there's some misconceptions around this. Your mindset is made up of three things, and I want you to think of mindset as like the soil. Okay. From that soil is going to grow every thought that you have, every feeling that you experience, every word that you speak, and every action that you do. It all comes out of the soil of your mindset. That soil has three components: what you believe about yourself, what you believe about other people, and what you believe about the world around you. Now, let's talk about those for a second. What do you believe about yourself? There are people who believe that they are not worthy of success. They believe that they have screwed up too much, that they have erred too far, and they're just not worthy of it. And so they commit what's called self-sabotage. They shoot themselves in the foot over and over and over again. Not intentionally, not consciously, but because on a deep mindset level, they believe they are not worth it. They are not worth the success that other people are experiencing, that they see. That's a root problem. Or they believe, man, if everybody found out that I'm really just, not really as good as they think I am, man, I would crash and burn. Everybody would leave. Nobody would hire me. And this is the roots of imposter syndrome. This is part of what you believe about yourself. And this is one of the things that I work with clients on to help them understand in a healthy way how to look at themselves. That's the first piece. The second piece is how you look at other people. This is how you look at your team members. This could be how you look at family members, a spouse, or significant other. This could be how you look at your clients. You can have unhealthy mindsets around all of those. And I've seen that. And if you have those, that's going to cause all manner of wrong actions, thoughts, words to come out of you.
Wait. So tell us the unhealthy way you look at clients. I don't know if I've heard this one before.
Okay.
You said a
So
lot. So break it down for us.
so so often I see people who are very, very focused, particularly in their initial conversations, whether you call it a strategy call or a discovery call or a sales call, whatever you call it. In those initial conversations, they're very, very focused on what they want from the person they're talking to, right? I want your business, but really at its root, what do I really want? I want your money, right? And that is what is broadcasting loud and clear, right? Because that's what's in you. That's the mindset that you have. That's what I believe about you. I want what you have. I want that from you. What I help my clients to do is to make a shift. And Jeff Henderson writes so well about this in his book, Know What You're For. The shift is from focusing on what I want from you to what I want for you. You know what I want for my clients? I want them to experience freedom. I want them to experience health. I want them to experience sustainability over the long haul. There's a reason why my average client sticks with me almost 3 years right now, and that number climbs every month. There's a reason for that, because they know what I want for them. When you broadcast that, when that is your mindset about other people, it's about what you want for them, not from them, it changes the game. Now, it has to start in you. This can't be something you're faking, because that gets broadcast too. But when you do make that mindset shift about other people and you begin to understand that you are for them, what I tell my clients and people that I talk to is, with me, you've got a coach who is in your corner, who is for you, who wants to see you succeed. When my clients win, when they celebrate their wins with me in their Slack channels, man, nobody is shouting and clapping louder than I am. And they know that. They feel that. That's the win for me when they win. That's how you look at clients in a different way. I watch too many people who have unhealthy mindsets around this, and it's really all about them. It's really all about what they want, what they get from the client. And that comes out sometimes it comes out sideways, because people start talking about their clients and like, yeah, well, if I just had better clients, I was, terrible client. That's terrible. All right. You're running down your clients, right? And you think nobody is hearing that, but you know who's hearing that? You are. You're hearing that. And when you go to serve them, that's now in the soil. You think that's not going to affect what grows? Of course it is.
I got mindset is what you believe about yourself, other people, and the world around you. When you feel like you're not worthy of success, you will go to self-sabotage. And you have an LTV of 3 years or more, because it's about what you want for them, not from them.
Yeah.
That's pretty
So
legit.
let's talk about the third component of your mindset, what you
Keep
believe
going,
about the
keep
world
going.
around you. Yeah. What do you believe about the world around you? All right. And Carol Dweck, in her book called Mindset, classic work on mindset, she talks about the difference between an abundance mindset and a scarcity mindset. She introduced those terms into the conversation. And I love how she talks about this. And what I've tried to do is to build on this and help people understand that your perspective on the world around you is really one of those two things. It's either, hey, things are working for me, or things are working against me. That's the abundance or the scarcity mindset. If you believe that everything is against you, then that is what is going to come out in the words that you speak, the thoughts that you have, the feelings that you have, and the actions that you take. For instance, have you ever heard a business owner say, man, I just can't succeed in this economy. If I had better team members like you have, Cameron, then maybe I could succeed, but they're all terrible. Well, if only my clients were more reliable. All of those things, all of those statements reflect what you believe about the world around you, which is everything's against you, which is that you are a victim of your circumstances, a victim of the situations around you, a victim of other people. I believe there's a better way. I want you to believe, and this is what I work with my clients on, I want you to believe that that is not true, that you are actually in the driver's seat. You get to choose. You get to choose. I want to see the world around me as everything is moving in the direction that it's supposed to. Living things grow. That's what naturally happens, unless there's something causing that not to happen. Well, if living things grow, then My business is a living thing, right? It's grow. I want to see it grow. What do I want to do? I want to feed it. I want to nurture it. I want to fertilize it. Keep our agricultural analogy here, right? I want to make sure it's got sun and food and water. I want to make sure that I have removed anything that's going to hinder it from growing. And that includes unhealthy mindsets about the world around me. If I believe that everything is against me, that I'm a victim of everything around me, that mindset is going to poison the well, and it is going to sabotage your success. You get to choose, if you will. And now we'll change hats for just a second, and I'm going to tell you that this is part of, I believe, one of the gifts that God's given us, which is the gift of free will. We get to choose.
See, now he getting deep. I told y'all. See, he hit y'all with the simple to kind of bring your guard down. Oh, he gonna be calm. See, I told you. All right. Mindset. 3 parts. What you believe about yourself, other people, and the world around you. All right, that's part 1 of what you help coach. Now let's get into what's probably a lot more popular, because a lot of people, oh, I'm fine, nothing wrong with my mind. So, okay, we'll let y'all have that. But leadership. This is one of the things that I've been learning and taking really serious this year as our team has grown. Just because I think, we think like, okay, I can lead, I'm a good leader. I've led before or managed people. But I don't think that until you get put smack dab in a situation, you understand like, oh, this is something or a talent that I can grow and improve upon.
Mm-hmm.
I used to think either you're a good leader or you're a bad one. Versus now I believe that it's a skill. I do still think some people lean towards it a lot easier, but I do think it's a skill that can be grown. So kind of talk us through that, whether it's what does a good leader look like versus bad, common traits that you're seeing in the successful leaders, however you want to answer it.
So a couple of years ago, I wrote a book called Catalytic Leadership. And that book was basically a summary of the conversations that I have had with leaders across a lot of different disciplines over the years. What are the struggles? What are the common things that people wrestle with when it comes to leadership? And what are the things that make a leader truly make a difference? What are the traits or the characteristics that make a leader catalytic? That term actually comes out of my story. People often ask, are you talking about cars, like a catalytic converter, or what's going on here? It comes out of my story. I actually went to college as a pharmacy major. I intended to go and become a pharmacist. Worked in a pharmacy in high school, thought that was fun, thought this would be a great way to help and serve people. Got into my second year, hit organic chemistry, and decided this is not what I want to spend the rest of my life doing. I was encouraged to pursue my excellence elsewhere. And so I did. Chemistry, not my favorite. But in my brief chemistry studies, I will say this. I learned about the power of a catalyst. And a catalyst is something that you introduce into a mixture in order to incite or to accelerate significant change. Well, I'd been a student of leadership for just a handful of years at that point, and I thought, every great leader I have ever studied or worked for would resonate with that definition. Something that you add into a mixture to incite or to accelerate significant change. That's what leaders want to do. And so I've been on a journey trying to figure out what is it that makes some leaders catalytic and some leaders just mediocre. And so I can talk through a couple of those with you if you'd like. The number one non-negotiable for a catalytic leader, in Williams' opinion, and based on the study that I've done, number one non-negotiable is a teachable spirit. If you do not have a teachable spirit, you will not be catalytic as a leader. The minute you stop learning, you stop growing. When you stop growing, you stop leading at the level you could. You're never going to be catalytic that way. This is a decision that I make every day, Cameron. And this is a decision that I challenge you and everybody I talk to make every day. When I wake up, I want to make a decision every day to be the most teachable person in every room I'm going into, in every conversation I'm going into. I want to listen more than I speak. One of my favorite quotes is from Larry King, the old interviewer, right? He used to say that I'm never going to learn anything while I'm talking. I love that. And that's something I think every one of us needs to benefit from. We need to stop talking as much. We need to listen more. It's when we listen that we learn. That reflects a teachable spirit. When I go into meetings with my team, whether it's one-on-ones or team meetings, I'm listening more than I'm speaking. I'm asking more questions than I'm making statements because I want to learn. I want to learn more about them. I want to learn about what they're doing. I want to learn about their wins, where we always start. I want to learn about their challenges, their struggles. What obstacles are they hitting? I'm never going to hear any of that if I just keep talking at them. So a teachable spirit is the one non-negotiable. And by the way, this is the one non-negotiable I have for my clients as well. I will not work with somebody if I sense that they don't have a teachable spirit. I won't. We will not enter that engagement.
All right, keep going. So that's number one. Give us like 3 or 4 more.
Yeah. So another one is to choose to be family focused. And this is one that I get some pushback on. People are like, well, wait a minute. If I'm, as a leader, if I'm family focused, if I'm focused on my family, I'm going to be living out of my car. Like, I got to focus on my business, right? I can't be family focused. And to that, I will simply say this: one day somebody else is going to do what you do. Whether you sell your business, whether you leave your job, whatever it is, one day somebody else is going to do what you do. Then what? Then what? Here's what I've learned. I've spent a lot of time with people at the end of their lives. And I have never heard anybody say, man, I wish I had spent more time at the office. Man, I wish I had grown my business just a little bit bigger. Only I had gotten another 100K in MRR. If only. You know what I hear them say? The regrets they express most often are about relationships. They're about the relationships of those closest to them. They're about the neglect. They're about the times that they ignored what mattered most to focus on what they thought mattered now. They did not choose to be family focused. I believe you can build a healthy, successful, sustainable, thriving business and be family focused. That has been my goal. That is what I do. I know that's what you do, and that's what I teach. About 5.5 years ago, I had a situation that arose that really drove this deep for me, Cameron. My older daughter was 14 years old at the time. She started having headaches. And we took her to the doctor. She was about the age that I was when I started developing migraines that I've had my whole life. And so we thought maybe that's what this was. And so they gave her some medicine, checked her out, sent her home. It didn't help. Took her back, and she couldn't keep anything down at that point. And so they said, well, take her to the ER, get her some fluids because she's dehydrated, if nothing else. And so we took her and did that. And they wanted to run some scans, so they did. And turned out she had a tumor on the back right side of her brain, about the size of a ping pong ball. Now, there's no family history of anything like this, right? And so they said, we need to get her to a larger hospital immediately. And so they gave us two choices, and we took her closer to DC. And 2 days later, we had met the pediatric neurosurgeon and took the tumor out. And 2 days later, she's home. And then we waited for the pathology report. And it took a lot longer than normal. They had said 3 to 4 days. It ended up being about 2 weeks because it turns out it was a very, very rare form of cancer. Only about 50 teenagers a year in the world are diagnosed with that. And that started a journey for us with radiation, with relocating to Baltimore to live at the Ronald McDonald House while she underwent treatment at one of the only places in the country that did the kind of treatment that she needed. And I tell you that story, and I'll give you the end. She's doing great. There has not been a recurrence. She's set to graduate college a year early next May, and we're super proud of her, and we're super grateful to God for this. But I tell you this story to illustrate a point. During that season, when we were going through all of that, waiting for the pathology report, the surgery, the radiation, the whole bit, I was not focused on making sure I hit every KPI in my business. I was not focused on making sure that everything was done according to our quarterly goals. I wasn't. My team was. And we had built a system and structures and systems in place so that things ran as well or better than they would if I had been there. I was focused where I needed to be on what mattered most. I hope you and your listeners never experience what we did. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. But I share this story because I want you to understand this point. You don't know when something like that's going to happen. You don't know when the storm's going to come. You got to plan for it. You got to build you got to build the systems, the structures in place so that you are ready. And when you choose to be family focused, this is always part of your thinking. This is always part of the strata process that I use for planning. This is always part of my landscape. I want to make sure those closest to me know they matter most. That, I believe, is part of good leadership. Does that make sense?
Yes, but that's number 2. We need like 2 or 3 more. I'm like, yes, I'm not gonna cry. This story went. This was an epic story. Okay, so I got
No.
it though so far.
Yeah,
Teachable spirit, choose to be family focused. What other
absolutely.
qualities are you seeing that make a leader great or catalytic?
Yeah. To make a leader catalytic, I believe evaluation is a non-negotiable. I believe you evaluate relentlessly. And by that, I mean this. People think that experience makes you better. Okay. That is not true. Experience does not make you any better at all. Evaluated experience is what makes you better. And this is why the best players in the world have coaches. Okay. The best golfers, the best athletes have coaches. Why? They're the best. Because they can't see what they can't see. They need somebody on the outside to help them see what they need to know, help them recognize their blind spots and overcome them. The same thing is true with you, with your business, with your life. Evaluate relentlessly. Every week, as part of the system that I use for productivity, I do a weekly review. Cameron, you've heard me talk about this, I'm sure. The weekly review has 2 parts to it. The first part is I look back over the previous 7 days. And I look at my calendar and I think about the meetings that I was in, think about all the environments that I was in that week. And I ask 3 questions. What went right this week? What can I celebrate? And I start there because what we focus on is what we get more of. I want to focus on wins, and I want to teach you to focus on wins. Celebrate the wins first. This is going to help you from a neurological perspective and over time as a habitual perspective. Celebrate your wins. Focus on what you want more of. Second question, what did not go right? What were the misses this week? You got to call those out. Third, what would I do different next time? How would I make it better next time? I'm in a similar situation. What would I do differently? By processing your learning that way, looking back over the previous 7 days, processing that learning, the next time you are in a similar situation, you will have that processed learning at your disposal. You will have that tool in your bag. You don't have to think about it and remember, well, oh yeah, something like this happened before. What did I do? I think I was going to do something different. You don't have to do all that. You've already pre-decided. You have already processed your learning. You have that at your disposal because you evaluated. What went right? What went wrong? How would I do it better next time? Those are the 3 questions as I look back. As I look forward at the next 7 to 14 days, I look at the meetings I'm going to be in and I evaluate and I say, hey, what do I need to prepare or what do I need to do in order to bring the best version of me into those settings? What do I need to prepare for this meeting so that I bring my absolute best into this? You pre-decide that. This is why I pre-decide how I'm going to spend my time, Cameron. I pre-decide as much as possible. That doesn't mean you book yourself every 15 minutes, because then you have no margin, and creativity lives in the margins. As a leader, you need creativity. That's how we solve problems. That's how we do what we do. But by pre-deciding a large portion of my week ahead of time, I'm pre-deciding based on my priorities, not based on the emotion of the moment. That is part of healthy evaluation. And the best leaders, the catalytic leaders, evaluate relentlessly.
All right, that's number 3. 2 more?
Well, you got to get the book. I'm just saying.
Okay.
No. I'll give you two.
No. Plug the book. You got the book behind you. So now, if you're not looking at this man has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 shelves full of books behind him, and it's not like empty. It looks like a library. So I like that though.
I like
Show them the
books.
copy
Yeah.
of the book so that they can get the rest there.
This is the book. And I wrote this specifically to help people who are leading or want to lead at a higher level. My goal for every person who is listening to this is for you to take your next step in your leadership. Here's the thing. You're not just going to wake up one day and say, oh, wow, I'm a fully developed, mature leader that has all the skills I need. I don't know how that happened, but look, here I am. Nobody does that. Okay. You've got to make intentional choices to grow. You've got to make intentional choices to develop the skills you need. I wrote the book to help you begin to take steps in these areas that we've talked about, plus others, because I want to help you grow. Not everybody can afford an executive coach, but you can afford a book. Or you can listen to a podcast called Catalytic Leadership that I host, interviewing leaders like Cameron. And you can learn from their stories.
Okay.
You do what I can.
Yeah. Everybody can't afford a coach, but you can afford a book. That was deep. All right, let's flip it and go the opposite direction. Mm-hmm. Common traits that you see of bad leadership. And yes, if this is a little touchy for you guys, that's why we're doing it, because I think to your point in evaluating, like that's important to understand too, that hey, I may be doing this and this is hurting my team or hurting our growth or capacity or ability to scale. So give us some common traits. So when you start coaching people, because I'm sure everybody's coming as a non-finished product. So common traits you're seeing that are bad in leaders.
So I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you another one of the principles from the book because it relates directly to what you just asked. Okay. Another one of the principles is to discover how you are wired. You are wired specifically and uniquely as a leader. When we start as leaders, when we start in our journey, we begin to copy what we've seen. We copy leaders that we admire, that we've learned from, that we've worked for, that we've admired from afar. And we will copy what they do, how they think. We'll copy sometimes what they say. And I've even seen people copy how they dress, right? Like that's normal how we start. But if you stay there, all you end up becoming is a bad copy of a great leader, instead of leading out of your own authentic wiring. Learning how you are wired as a leader is a critical piece of becoming catalytic, but that's the first step. The second step is learning how your team is wired. I use an assessment called the Working Genius, and I walk teams through this. And I help them understand how each person around the table is wired. I help them to see this for two reasons. One, so that they stop thinking everybody is just like them. And this goes to your question. What is one of the biggest mistakes I see people making in leadership? It's they think the people that they lead think and act just like them. They don't. They don't think like you. They're not the business owner. They're never going to think like you. They're never going to think with the level of responsibility that you have. They're never going to feel the weight that you feel. And they're wired differently than you are. Understanding how they're wired helps you understand how to lead them well, instead of trying to lead them like you. They're not you. And this is one thing I see a lot. And this is why I'm talking with a lot of teams right now about the working genius and leveraging this in their companies, in their businesses, so that they can understand one another better, which will translate into them working together better and serving their clients better. And I see this again and again and again. This is one of the best tools I know of for this. But it begins with a commitment to discovering first your own wiring and then the wiring of your team. When a leader does not do those two things, that is disastrous.
I like that. So discover how you're wired, learn how your team is wired. Okay, let's kind of switch gears here. So now, how have you, a lot of people, as you know, oh man, I need to get a second business or I want to start a second one or a third one. When in all reality, you've been doing two for at least 27 years.
It's been a minute.
Talk us through some of how you're able to balance both while still staying family focused.
I would say that the secret sauce there is the productivity system that I use. If you're familiar with David Allen, he wrote a book a good many years back now called Getting Things Done. And I first read that book almost 20 years ago. And it resonated at an incredibly deep level with me. And I said, this is what I'm going to do. And I began to execute that system, implemented it throughout my life, not just in one part, because we are integrated people, not compartmentalized people. And that GTD system is how I do what I do. It's how I get done what I get done. That's the secret sauce.
Okay. All right. Now, let's talk about wifey for a hot second. So, to your point, all right, I was doing some leadership. I thought I was going to be a pharmacist. I get more into coaching. At this point, I don't know when you met wifey. I'm guessing after college, during college.
During college, she was done. I was not. Yeah.
Okay. So now she starts talking to you. Y'all are talking about future plans, and you're like, I think I'm going to start my own business and start coaching other people. She says what?
You know, when we met, I had transitioned from corporate into church world. And so that's what I was doing. And so the anticipation was that I was going to do that. And what I was doing with leadership development and training and coaching leaders, that was something that I did on the side as part of that. It was never something that I thought I'm going to build a business and execute this at a high level. It was just something I loved doing. It was a passion. And, whether it was coaching, C-suite leaders or whether it was coaching startups, I loved rolling my sleeves up and helping them to do what they were doing better by helping them see what they couldn't see. And so when that's been a process and a journey for us. We've been married for this year, be 27 years, a little later this year. And it has been a process for us, but I can tell you that I have never had a bigger cheerleader and I have never had a bigger supporter. She is the one in my corner. She's the one that is always speaking words of life and encouragement. I have coaches in a lot of different disciplines because I want to grow in specific areas. And every year I evaluate, where do I want to grow this year? And then I find somebody who can help me go farther in that area than I have been on my own and get there
That's
faster.
a good question. How do you know when it's time to move on from a certain coach to a new coach? Because I think some people get confused there. Talk us through that since you've done that before.
Yeah, it's. I think in terms of seasons, Cameron, seasons have beginnings and seasons have ends, and that's healthy and normal. One of the dysfunctions that I see in leaders is when they say it's just a busy season. It's just a busy season. I'm like, how long's that busy season been going? I don't know, 6, 7 years. Okay, that's not a season. That's called your life. Okay, to quote Carrie Newhoff. I mean, that's not a season. To think in terms of seasons with a coaching relationship, I think is healthy because you're going to come into this and you're going to get what you need to get. There are certain things that you need to see that this coach can help you do, and they're going to help you do that. I've had coaches who help me with, public speaking because I do that a lot. I've had coaches who help me around the leadership side of what I do with my team I've had coaches who help me specifically around the church world in leading in that space. I've had coaches who've helped me with business development. I've had coaches who helped me with mindset. And the reason that I have engaged each one of these in different seasons is because that's an area that I wanted to grow and focus on. But it was always for a specific period of time. It wasn't open-ended, like we'll just do this until Jesus comes, right? It's going to be for a season, right? And that's the way I treat my clients and the way I want them to look at our relationship. As long as it's helpful and you're getting what you need to help you grow, I'm willing to continue to work with you. But I never want this to be an unhealthy relationship where there's a dependency. That's not healthy, right? I want this to be something where I'm empowering you and equipping you and seeing you win and thrive. Now, sometimes they shift the focus of the relationship. And by that, let me give you an example. I just had a client who had finished, I asked for a 12-month engagement typically. And so the 12 months was up. And I said, hey, you committed to a year and we're at the end of that year. And, he has gone from what was a 7-figure agency to now multiple 7 figures this year. And I'm celebrating that with him. I mean, it's been a big win, a lot of breakthroughs there. And I said, I'm so excited to see what's happened. And I said, whether we go forward from here is up to you. Of course, I'm willing, but I want this to be your decision. What do you think? And he laughed at me. He said, why would I stop?
I mean, that's fair. If
I
I
said,
go
well, that's
barely
kind.
making 7 to multiple, yeah, I wouldn't want to stop you.
I mean, that's great. And I'm glad that's been helpful. But the relationship shifts from at the beginning, we're going to focus on these 3 or 4 primary focus areas. Now to it's more of I'm a thinking partner. I'm a strategy partner for him. And I'm going to help him navigate whatever he's going through next. And it's not just going to be limited to a few areas that we pre-decided on. Now it's a different type of a relationship. And that's what he wanted. And I said, great, let's make that happen.
Okay.
It's a new season.
It's a new season. All right. Quickest ways to improve your leadership skills would be
every morning choose that you are going to be the most teachable person in the room. That's it. Shut your mouth, open your ears, and make that choice.
I thought you was going to go on a real deep tangent.
Honestly, Cameron, so often the things I say are pretty doggone simple.
I ain't gonna go that far. I'm not gonna say they simple. They're very deep.
I didn't say they're easy.
That is fair. And I think to your point, like we think that it has to be deep or it has to be super hard or super easy, when to your point, well, something can be simple and not easy because those are often the hardest things to do. So that's exactly a good one. Best investment today that you think has produced the greatest ROI?
In my own business?
Yeah.
Coaching. And that sounds self-serving. It sounds self-serving, and I don't mean it that way, but that is what has helped me to catapult beyond the barriers and the obstacles that I kept hitting. That's what helped me get beyond those things.
Okay. All right. Since you're coaching them on how to be more effective leaders and fixing mindsets, what the agencies that make $1 million plus versus the ones that don't, what are the common mindset differences that you're seeing?
I think the first one would be that there has to be a choice and a decision for you to not be at the center of the spider web, where everything connects to you, where you make every decision, where all of your team comes to you. What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? When you're at the center of the spider web, you will never scale and grow beyond what you can personally touch. You'll never grow that way. You'll grow to a point, but only to the point of what you can physically touch yourself. That's not healthy. What I help people do is get out of the center of the spider web. One of the ways I do that is teaching them a question that I have asked my team for a very long time, and they know it's coming. And most often they don't even bring me the questions anymore. But when they do, hey, what do you think about? They know what they're going to hear from me. The number one question. What do you think? What do you think?
And I found it is so hard to do that because in your mind, you want to just answer the question, but you're
Of
like,
course you do. But then you become the one they're dependent on. And you're not teaching them to think. And you're not teaching them to solve the problems. And you're not teaching them how you think. Now, sometimes you ask that question, what do you think? And they come back with something that's just off the wall stupid. Okay, let's just be real. Like sometimes they do. And you're like, oh, no. And you got to like really control your face and, instead of going, like you really might be thinking. Okay. All right. I can see why you would think that. Let me help you understand how we do it here. And you're teaching.
that was smooth.
And now they know. And going forward, now they know. This is how we do it here.
I'm like trying to replay the last few questions they asked me to remember. Did I answer it or did I ask them? All right, let's keep going.
Tough. This is tough. And for a lot of business owners, this is tough because you're so accustomed to doing it all yourself because that's how you started. And it's addictive. It's addictive to be the answer man.
It's addictive to be the ooh. We're gonna keep going. I'm gonna write that one down in this long list of quotes I have for me. It's addictive to be that. Talk about that. Why?
Ego. Our ego is our ego is stroked when we are the answer man. When somebody comes and asks a question and we have the answer and we tell them and they walk away and we say, yeah, I knew the answer to that. Yeah. It feels good. It feels great. You know what feels better though? When they are able to make those decisions without you.
I agree.
That's called freedom. And every entrepreneur I know started their business for one or more of three reasons. They wanted time freedom, financial freedom, or location freedom. They wanted one or more of those three. You know what this methodology allows you to have? All three.
Okay. Ooh, boy, that was good. I'm trying to think of what would be questions that people would want to know, but from a leadership standpoint. Do you think, all right, let's go here. Do you think from a cultural perspective that the way you lead needs to change? Because, a lot of marketing agencies, I got a team in the Philippines or in LATAM or in Eastern Europe or South Africa. Do you think the way you lead needs to change based on where your team is, or leadership is the principles are the same regardless?
So I would say two things to that. First, you need to be listening to your team members and understanding where they're coming from, where they are. I don't just mean geographically. You need to understand how they think. And this is, again, where you're listening and asking questions. When you're doing that, that's going to help you understand any cultural minds in the field. That's one piece of this. The other piece of this is your team, your business has a culture. You either have one you created on purpose or you have one you did not mean to have, but you have a culture. Okay. I try very hard to coach leaders to have a healthy culture, one that they designed on purpose. When you do that, you are now inviting team members wherever they are geographically and wherever they are in their own cultural perspective. You're inviting them into your culture. You're inviting them into something. If you don't have a culture that you have designed on purpose for your team, for your business, then Katie bar the door. You never know what you're going to get. And this is the culture that is designed accidentally. And this can just be an amalgamation. It's like taking a whole bunch of random ingredients, throwing them in the crock pot and putting the lid on. You don't know what's going to pop out. Right? You want to design this on purpose. We just made a stew earlier this week, and I love that. A good pot roast with potatoes and carrots. I love that. But it's very intentional what you put in and how much. Put a little onion in, right? A little garlic salt, a little celery salt. But you're intentional about how much of those things you put in there. The same thing is true with your culture. You need to design it on purpose, and then you need to invite people into it from wherever they are. People lean in and want to be a part of a healthy culture. They do. This is one thing that can really help you with retention if that is a challenge for you.
Okay, kind of similar. Do you think that you can, do I want to say over compliment or overemphasize the importance of your team or be too grateful or too thankful or verbalize that too much?
No.
That's your
I can
answer?
give you more words if you want more words, but
Yeah,
no.
I was like,
Yeah. No, I don't.
no.
I mean, because most leaders, this is not, they're not even close to that line. They're not even close. If they feel like they're going over it, they're probably just approaching where they need to be, in my experience. Most leaders are not great at expressing gratitude. I believe gratitude is never silent and it is never invisible. Real gratitude. Okay. If that is true, then that means it is going to be something that is expressed in multiple ways at multiple times. One of my favorite quotes is from Truett Cathy, who started Chick-fil-A.
Shout out to Chick-fil-A. That's God's chicken.
Yes, it is. Christian chicken right there. Truett, when he was alive, would speak, and he would often give this, ask this question. He would say, "You want to know how to know when somebody needs encouragement?" And he'd get a little smile on his face. If they're breathing. That's how you know if somebody needs encouragement. We all need it. Most leaders are not giving as much as is needed. So can you give too much? No.
Okay.
Because people need that just like they need oxygen. Encouragement is
Ooh.
oxygen for the soul. I think it was Mark Miller
Ooh.
that said that.
Encouragement is oxygen for the soul.
If you
Y'all,
haven't
these,
read Mark Miller's book, Culture Rules, that's a great book. He was the vice president of leadership development at Chick-fil-A. Fantastic book.
y'all, I have so many quotes on this note. Okay, we're going to keep going. All right, let me ask you this because I dealt with this one yesterday.
Mhm.
How do I want to word this? This is probably going to sound messy, but I think you're going to understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So let's say you have an employee and they're killing it. They're doing great. You've already talked to them. You have KPIs set up and you kind of have already planned out their track. You ask them again, hey, just want to double check, make sure it's not me. What do you see yourself on this track? They tell you again, reaffirm it. How would you suggest you best prepare them to that if it's a leadership role, right? Because I think one of the things you've been really getting really good at and hinting at is it's one thing to be a technician. Like in
Mhm.
our case, it's one thing to be great at accounting and
Mhm.
tax. It's
Yes.
another thing to be able to lead other people and to communicate effectively. So how would you maybe train them so that you cannot be the center of that spider web, right?
Mhm.
And you can start taking even more steps back because I think a lot of people, at least even in our clients, we hear, yeah, I got this one great superstar. I don't
Mhm.
necessarily know how to help them outside of just giving them more money.
Mhm.
But like, how would you kind of, I don't know if the word would be coach, instruct on best practices or principles on how to kind of guide them along to help them become better leaders because maybe they're just great technicians right now.
Mhm. That's a great question. First thing I would do is leverage the one-on-ones that you have with people like this that are the high performers. Leverage your one-on-one and ask them, hey, what do you dream about? Where do you want to go? What's your end game? You know, the old where do you want to be in
Oh,
5 years
I'll
thing.
role play. Let's role play this because I
Yeah,
literally
yeah,
just had this conversation yesterday, so I think I can role
yeah,
play.
yeah.
All right, so you said where do you want to go? The person told me I want to go all the way up to manager level.
Excellent. That's fantastic. I would love to help you get there. I want you to know that. Now that I know that, we can be intentional about building opportunities for you to develop the skills that you're going to need to lead at that level. Thank you for sharing that. Now, what did I
Okay.
just do?
Oh, I did that. Oh, look at me. Like I've
Look at
been
you.
paying attention
See?
on the coaching calls.
Home run, man. Home run. Well done.
Home run. Okay, cool. Now, how do you effectively guide them, though?
Mhm.
Some people say, hey, before you give them the position, go
Mhm.
ahead and start giving those opportunities to maybe lead a call
Yes.
or review other people's work or train others. What are some
Mhm.
other things that you would suggest so that you can make them a better leader? Because I told my person, I
Mhm.
said, like, hey, there's going to come a point where, like, I'm going to have you doing books and book
Yes.
reports because there are just some things you're going to have to see from a different perspective.
That is one piece of it. You need to put them in situations where they are going to be exposed to ideas they don't know yet. Books are a great way to do that. Maybe it's a conference or a workshop that you can attend together and then unpack, then discuss. Hey, what'd you learn? What was your biggest takeaway? What are you going to do with it? Hold them accountable to not just what they're doing, but what they're learning. That's a big piece of mentoring a leader. So you want to give them opportunities, do book discussions. Hey, read this book and then let's have lunch together and talk about it, right? You got to eat. Take some time while you're having lunch. Listen to what they learned. Help them, guide them, help them to navigate some things. Share with them some things you've learned around that topic. That's one thing. Second thing, put them in positions where they can develop the skills long before they're in the position. Okay. So if they're going to be in a manager role, invite them into a conversation that would happen at that level. They're not doing it yet, but they're watching you do it. They're with you. Hey, you come, I do, and you watch, right? Then you do and I watch. I'm still going to be with you. And then we'll evaluate because evaluate is part of being catalytic. You have to evaluate. Then after I do it and you watch, then you do it and I watch. Now I feel confident in giving you the reins and saying, now you do it. And then we're going to evaluate again. But it's a process. You don't just throw them in the deep end and hope they figure out how to swim. And this is how too many people treat leaders or emerging leaders. They're like, okay, you want to do that? Okay, great. All right, you're a manager. Go for it. Hope it goes well. Let me know if you got any questions. I mean, really don't. But, go for it. That's the fastest way to see somebody fail. And this is what so often we see, particularly in larger environments, right? And again, different hat. This is what I see way too often in church world. We put people in positions, we throw them in the deep end, and then when they don't swim, when they fail, they're like, oh, well, I guess you weren't committed enough. Next.
Sheesh. Okay. I mean, that's factually true. I've seen it with my own eyes. All right.
I refuse to play that game. I think there's a better way.
Tell us your better way then. Instead of
What I
throwing them into the deep end, you would
right?
suggest.
Expose them early. Bring them into environments where they learn, discuss things with them, have conversations, develop leaders before you need them. Develop them before they're ever close to being in a position. You always have to be focused on developing a leadership bench. If you are not, you will regret it 100% of the time.
All right, last question so we can wrap this up because I know you got to go save the world. If you could get in a time machine, why are you laughing? He's laughing like he doesn't coach people, y'all. Okay. If you could get in a time machine, go back in time to high school, senior
Mhm,
you, or about to graduate college version of you. You know
mhm,
every single thing that's happened right now. You
mhm.
only get 30 seconds to go back and tell that version of you something. What do you tell them?
I think I would say you need to understand the value of a teachable spirit. I did not, like most of us, I did not value that as much early on. And particularly when you're in those late teenage years, early 20s, you think you've got the world by the tail. You think you know it all. You think you know how to run this thing. And I was no exception to that. I think I would tell myself, you need to focus on a teachable spirit because there is a whole lot you don't know. The more I learned in my academic career, the more I realized I didn't know. And I think that's what education does. It teaches us how to learn and exposes us to ideas that are bigger and greater to teach us how much we don't know. If not, if it doesn't engender humility, you're not doing it right.
All right. I don't even know if I can summarize this, so I'm going to just hit y'all with all the quotes he dropped because it was a lot. All right. People will follow where you lead. Mindset is made of three things: what you believe about yourself, other people, and the world around you. His LTV is 3 years because it's not about because it is about what you want for them, not from them. 3 traits that make a leader great or catalytic: teachable spirit, choose to be family focused, evaluate relentlessly. For the rest of them, go buy the book, show the book, go buy this book right here. You need to discover how you are wired and learn how your team is wired. The best players in the world have coaches. What we focus on is what we get more of. Creativity is in the margins. As long as it's helpful and what you need to help you grow, you keep it in regards to like, do I move on from this coach or do I keep him? The key difference between somebody who makes 7 figures or 6 figures that he's seen, there has to be a choice and a decision for you to not be the center of the spider web. It's addictive to be the answer man. Ooh. Gratitude is never silent and never invisible. Encouragement is oxygen for the soul. And you always have to be focused on developing your leadership bench. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. With that being said, tell the people if they're like, man, this guy's good. I need to reach out to him for coaching so that I can better lead or fix my mindset. Tell them name of the business again, what you do, who you serve, and how they can get in touch with you.
So I'm William Attaway, and my company is Catalytic Leadership, LLC. You can find out more about the coaching that I do at catalyticleadership.net. And you can also connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active over there, share a lot of information and do a webinar each month. Would love to connect with you and help you to grow intentionally and help you learn to lead your team at a higher level.
All right, y'all. You heard it here. You literally just got an hour of goodness. This is the kind of stuff that I've seen him talk about at conferences and webinars, on coaching calls. So you can see how it just flows out like it's effortless. So if you want to connect with him, get coached by him. Guys, he just told you what to do. Buy the book. Like you just said, maybe you like, man, he probably $10,000 a month. Okay, get the book. The book has got some of his brain in it. So just get the book. But outside of that, oh, thank you so much. We have a visitor.
I'll tell you,
All
Cameron.
right, look, this your boy. Okay, she said she would say hey, but her hair is not camera ready.
Hey, Dr.
Hey,
Attaway.
how you doing?
Dr. Attaway.
I know he's telling you great things, so listen to every word, hang on for dear life.
That's what she told me at the conference. She was like, I got a chance to talk to the guy you were saying. I told him, whatever you tell him to do, he just do it, Cam. You just need to do it. I was like, dang, what did y'all say?
It's a good man.
Oh my goodness, that's
You never even told me what y'all talked about.
And he knows the Lord.
Oh my God. So that because he knows the Lord, then. You see what I got to deal with, y'all. Anyway,
that's awesome.
Let's
Cameron,
let you go.
I'll tell you what I would love to do for your listeners if they're up for it. I would love to give them a free copy of the book. That way they got no excuse.
Okay.
Does that sound real?
What do they have to do to get it, though? To make them do something to get it?
Here's what you do. You go to catalyticleadershipbook.com. You pay the shipping. I'll put the book in your hands. I'll even sign it for you. I want you to execute on this. That's why I wrote it. I want this to help you. So don't let there be any reason not to take your next step.
Y'all heard it. So you got to do the work. You got to put the time in. But you saw he just gave you 3 points. He didn't even hit you with all of them, because that's why I kept saying I know it's more. It's more in there. And on top of that, if you like, okay, I'll buy the book, but I need this every single week with my custom situation, because you know how we do. You don't understand my situation different. I know you love that one, don't you? My situation different. You know, you never heard of it quite like this, or never heard of my story. Y'all know what to do. Reach out to him. He's here to help. He's here to serve. I can attest to that personally. So y'all do that. So with all that being said, thank you again, Dr. Attaway, for coming on. Guys, these are the type of people that we want to bring on each and every episode. People that are going to have high character, are doing it at a high level, but are still keeping the balance, still leaving a legacy, still serving and impacting others along the way. So until the next episode, you guys take care of yourselves. Peace out.